Hello, I'm making this video if you missed class or if you just need to be reminded of these basic things. So this is the birdhouse project. It's a simple one-point perspective drawing, and as you can see, I've already put the axis point and the eye level view in here for you, and the vanishing points at the top and the bottom, because it's one-point perspective going in two different directions, above and below eye level. So this is a birdhouse, and you will use 4 different shapes to create your birdhouse using perspective: sphere, cylinder, cone, and a torus, which is just the donut shape. So I'm going to start with the sphere because it's really the easiest thing. And I'm going to put it right at eye level. Try to make it as even as possible. And so I forgot to do this. With the vanishing point, you really want to kind of have these guidelines. They might help you. So I like to put them in anyway. So I'm going to put the cylinder here. I like to show the bottom of the cylinder just to really push it back into space. I'm going to erase that bottom line and then erase these 2 lines in the middle just to kind of make it easier to see everything. Okay. I'm being careful not to darken my line too much on the side that I want to have my light source. Boop, boop. So here's the bottom of the cylinder. Whoops, I forgot to erase that line. Okay. There we go. So it's opened up pretty good because one of the things I really want to see in this project is pushing the top and the bottom really hard into space. This is going to be a very distorted fantasy birdhouse. Don't think about logic as far as design goes. This is strictly about perspective with a little conceptual edge, okay? So here's the top of your cylinder. So you see, you got your nice little cylinder there. And the guidelines helped keep everything even. So now let's do another cylinder on the bottom here. I'll make a really long one, so it's almost like a pole. This can be the pole holding up your birdhouse. I think my batteries are about to die on my eraser. No. There we go. Okay. So now we've got 2 pretty good. We can go back in and fix those later. So now I'm going to put a cone on the top. So see how open this is? This is going to be even more open because you're seeing even more of the bottom because it's pushed back into space even more. And to make sure it's a cone, you might show a little bit of the point there, but you really don't want to show much because it is foreshortened. And that's because it's being pushed back into space. Okay. Now I'm going to put a torus up here. And I want it to be opened a little bit more than that because it's further back. And I'm going to search out the lines that fit, the gesture lines that fit my torus the best. Do you know why I pointed it up? It's very important. I pointed it up because I'm looking up at it. Because this is my eye level. So I'm looking up at that. And I'll put another Taurus down here because, and it's pointed down because I'm looking down at it, because it's below eye level. And I'm just kind of roughing it in right now. This is something you'll refine later, but right now I'm just kind of mapping it in. So now I have all 4 shapes. So now every self-respecting birdhouse should have a hole, right? So I'm going to put a hole a little bit off center to make it more interesting. In that hole, I should be able to see the inside lip. But since my light source is up here, that inside lip is not getting a lot of light. And then I'm going to put a perch. Do not have your perch coming out of your hole. That's not right. Let's create an optical illusion. Look what I did. Now that perch feels like it's coming right out at the viewer. So the light is hitting that perch and it's going to create a cool little drop shadow, cast shadow. Yeah. And then you'll tone the bottom of that. Let the light catch all that. Let the top catch all that light. Kind of tone the edge of the end of it. You don't ever want a perch that just comes out like that. That's not interesting. You want to make sure your perch fits the angle at which it originates. So you definitely wouldn't want to, let's put another one here. You definitely wouldn't want to have a perch going that way because that just wouldn't make any sense. This perch would definitely be going this way to fit the angle from which it originates. And it wouldn't show as much shadow because it would be obscuring the shadow from the viewer's eyes. Be a little bit less shadow. And on this hole, you would see that lip, and it would be catching a little light. So let me... And so you want your holes to feel like holes and not just black spots. So think about what's happening in there, even if you have to exaggerate it a little bit. So it's probably going to be darkest right next to the light. And then it'll get a little bit lighter because some ambient light will reflect up in there. And then it'll be darker again over here. So you can play around with it in different ways and figure out which way it works the best. Then of course you tone everything based on the lighting. So it's going to be darkest on this side as a rule. And then gradually get lighter as it gets to the middle because you want to really show that illusion of the sphere being closest to the viewer. So it's going to be really pretty bright on that closest edge. Somehow you got to figure out how to do that. And so fun thing with these Tauruses is that sunlight hits the Taurus. If you really want to show that it's pretty far away from the cylinder, you can drop a shadow a little bit away from the Taurus, which is going to be lighter in the middle, and then gradually get darker as it goes towards the edge. And that's, you got that white space in between there, and that's really good at indicating space between the Taurus and the cylinder. Remember, it's round, so you want to make that shadow round. Same way down here. I'm just roughing these in. You go back in and refine them quite a bit. So with your cylinder, your Taurus. Of course, it's going to be a little bit darker right here. There should be a bit of a baseline that kind of twists around here, almost like a Twizzler. If you look at the setup I've got, there is a pretty good baseline, right? Like, it's kind of interesting the way it does that. And then there's a light shadow here because, oh, what else happens here? You get this, like the sunlight hitting this guy, and then it bounces up here, so you get some ambient light there. Of course, it'll be darker around here, and a little bit darker around here because the light is hitting that really hard. And so there's going to be some darkness right here as well. But then you're going to get a little ambient light there, especially if you have a sphere. So that sphere is really going to have a broader surface that's going to create some ambient light. So I might even have like just an implied line up here and like really good strong shadows leading up to it. Maybe a little bit of an implied line there. So just be thinking about all these things. And so say you want to put your cylinder in the middle. That's a whole new ball of wax. Let's try that. Whoops, slipping. Sorry. Hope you can see all that. So let me get your axis in here and your eye level. Don't forget your vanishing points. So go ahead and put those in. Okay, so we're going to have a cylinder right in the middle. So what's going to happen to this cylinder, and I've kind of set it from the middle. It's going to appear to bend a little bit right in the middle. You'll kind of round those out and make those edges a little more sophisticated. Go ahead and erase this. So another thing you want to remember with any of these birdhouses, the part that's at eye level is a part that's coming closest to the viewer. So everything else falls behind that. So say we want to put a sphere on top of this. Sorry, I have to do it this way. Some of you are more precise. I have to gesture it in or it just won't be round. And then I kind of ferret out the ones that work. So there's my sphere. And you see it falls directly behind the cylinder. So that gives it the illusion of going back into space. And you can really play with this idea and push things crazy back and do some fun little things like, woo-hoo, where it just kind of really gives that sense of deep space. And let's put the cone down here. And basically, it's the same concept. I just wanted to show you how to do it with a cylinder. I find the sphere a little easier and more attractive, but you can do some great things with this. Go into the module and see what former students have done, and just go crazy. It's only limited by your imagination. Oh, that's another thing I forgot to mention. You may have a concept. So if you want to have a bar, a castle, your favorite movie, your favorite song, if you remember the one girl in the gallery, her piece was based on Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. And then the other one who we saw her birdhouse, it just looked like a beautiful design. So as long as it's a beautiful design and it's toned and all of the perspectives are consistent and shadows, and you really have fun with it and everything is pretty close to correct as far as perspective and toning goes, you will have a successful piece. So good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.